Welcome back to the channel. The Nullified Take here to talk about episode 5, Survivor 50. I'm joined by Andre, my co-host again. Andre, it's freezing. It's changing over here in Australia. It's getting cold.
I need a jacket.
If only Angelina was here to help you out and give you a nice warm jacket to stay warm on the podcast.
I think I got it here. I took it off her.
What a great episode. I'm still extremely high on Survivor 50. I'm enjoying it. Where are you sitting? Are you still in on this season? Are you still enjoying what we're sort of seeing from an edit perspective? I know there's been a lot of conversations this week about female characters on Survivor 50 being under-edited, apparently.
Yeah. I'm still very high on it. I understand the criticism about that, and I wish you had seen more of, say, Genevieve, for example, this episode. But I think it's a good return to form after the whole, I don't even remember his name, Zach Brown, was it? From last week. Yeah. I think that, look, I mean, we know we're going to get Mr. Beast. We know we're probably going to get Jimmy Fallon a little bit later on. Let's just all agree to pretend that never existed, never will exist. Let's just focus on the game. Let's focus on the players. Let's focus on the story. And it's the Boomerang Idol. It's not the Billie Eilish Boomerang Idol. Let's just pretend none of that exists and just take Survivor 50 for its merit, because it's shaping up to be a hell of a season. Probably the best season since, God, maybe too early to say, but it probably is going to be better than Winners at War, I feel, just the way that it's going right now. So very high on it, you can probably tell.
Well, and it pains me to say this because everybody knows I love the outcome of Winners at War. I love who won that season. I think he's the GOAT. But one of the things that Winners at War still has against it, in my mind, is the edge of extinction, which I've never been a fan of. A lot of the edit was sort of taking us away from the main game into the edge of extinction.
And
fire tokens. There was a lot of things that were happening outside of the actual game that was influencing the game, with things coming back into the game. There was definitely there's holes we can poke into Survivor season 40 with Winners at War, but I still enjoyed the season as a whole. I do agree with you. It's definitely going to be the best season since season 40. I mean, it's not that much competition.
I think since 37. I think it's the spiritual successor to David vs. Goliath. Like, if we got this season after David Goliath, that I would be happy. That's like to me, it's like the third movie in a trilogy. There's kind of like the terrible first movie, which is South Pacific, then David vs. Goliath, and then this one. That would make a really good trilogy of films, I would think.
Yeah, but in all fairness to the new era players that have played this season, we have had some bangers. We've had Dee really pulling her weight this season. We've had Rizzo. Charlie and Rizzo, the showdown of those two going up against each other, which has been satisfying to watch. I think Jonathan has added. I know a lot of people are like up and down, like they're saying that we need to see the scene between him and Devon's this week specifically. Yeah. Could we have seen at least one confessional from Tiffany, who's still only got 2 confessionals this whole season compared to Zach Brown's 4 confessionals in the one episode that he was on, right? So there's some fair criticism here. But for me personally, I am enjoying the season. And I've got a pretty hot take. I was thinking about this, or I think it's a hot take. Maybe no one else has called this out. I feel like the season is being edited like Australian Survivor. Like, if you look at...
That's a cold take. It's the same. It is a cold take.
Okay, I'm not online.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Well, to me, it's a cold take. Maybe others will have a sort of different opinion. But, fair criticisms, Tiffany, some of the women aren't being edited that well. I'm holding out judgment just for now, just because Tiffany might not be a consequential player. And they do tend to edit consequential players. We have seen a good edit on Genevieve, generally speaking, and Aubrey, to be honest. But I have heard things online about Aubrey, sort of from Angelina, actually, about how kind of some of the things that are actually happening would undermine Aubrey as a player and makes him maybe look more of a better player in extras. But we can talk about that later.
Yeah, I do think some of the criticism that is coming from Angelina and her off-season content, which I still like Angelina, I think there is a little bit of bitterness in there. I think there is a little bit of, I didn't have a good season. I want to throw some shade on the way out. Like, I don't know how much of it I fully trust. I mean, she's saying Emily Flippin is the mastermind, not Christian on that tribe. And I don't agree with that. And maybe she's right. She actually played the game, but we'll have more people coming out on exit press who will have a say about who actually played the best game. I'm not going to take Angelina's word for the fact that Emily is this mastermind, because to me, she comes across as a chaotic player in both her seasons that she played. But I want to flip back on this whole cold take that I had, not a hot take, with Australian Survivor edit. I love it. I personally love it. I don't want to see all the sob stories from people who don't matter at the end and who isn't going to play a big game, or they're not going to go deep in the game. So I'm okay with the fact that certain people are dominating the edit. I don't know if Christian and Ozzy necessarily needed to be twice as edited as everybody else in this season, but there's really a gap.
It was worth it for the Cochrane callback, to be honest.
It was definitely worth it for the callback. Anytime we could get Cochrane on our screens, I'm all in on the Cochrane train. But Christian and Ozzy, it's just such a big storyline this season. And we're going to go into the Aussie game and stuff like that. But there's a big gap between 35 and 34 confessionals to the next best person on the show, I think, is Emily at 19. So there is a female in the top 3 edited people.
And all of these people have gone to every single tribal council, except for one of the tribal councils that they were forced not to go to. So you can kind of understand it. It actually has been, and this is going back to the Australian Survivor type of callback, where what tends to happen is people that, like in this season of Australian Survivor, there was somebody that went to pretty much every single tribal council. And he was a pretty vanilla character, right? But he got a ton of confessionals. He was a huge character, despite being super boring, only because he had to go to every single tribal council, and he was very consequential in the pre-merge. So it's like a very similar type of thing. Like Emily Flippin, isn't it? Oh, she might be a power player if you to believe Angelina, but she's not. She hasn't been Christian. She hasn't been Aussie, right? But she has gotten all these confessionals because she's just been, pretty important to the storyline. She's been a supplementary player, at worst, and at best,
and she's added something.
She was a star. Yeah,
she's added something, even if her gameplay, in our eyes, hasn't been that great yet because she's been chaotic. It's added to the TV show. It's added to the drama of the show.
And there's two Emilys. There's chaotic Emily, and there's the Emily that we saw this episode that's really able to go back into the background. We saw that in her first season too. Yeah, where she started off like super crazy, and then once she had Caleb in her corner, then she was able to sort of dissolve back and then go into the merge with pretty decent numbers.
So I just want to look at this and think to myself, is this a fair criticism that the women have all been under-edited or not? And I can understand where people come from. A lot of people look through the lens of gender when they watch the game to see who's getting a fair... And it's because historically, Survivor hasn't always known how to edit a great female winner. We know that. I mean, it's happened many a seasons. Yeah. But Christian, 35, Aussie, 34, Emily, the third highest on 19 at that point. Then we have Genevieve next. So you've got 2 women in the top 4 at 17. She's had a really big one. Obviously, this was the first episode where she got shaded. She didn't get a single confessional, which I don't know what that means for her game heading into the merge. And Rick Devens is tied with her for 4th, right? And then I guess you can look at Rizzo being in there as well. But Rick Devens and Rizzo, again, big characters, big players. Who's the other woman that have had good edits? You've got Sari and Dee, 2 other strong women that are sitting around 13, I think, confessionals. And I guess Dee hasn't actually, she's been under-edited because she's had a confessional every single episode, but she's had 6. It feels like Dee's had a lot more content than probably he has had at this stage. She
hasn't even gone to well, this was the only time she's gone to tribal, right? So it's kind of like, that's actually, for me, that's a good edit. I'm actually surprised Stephanie wasn't even in the top. Like, considering her as a player, she's been to a lot of tribal councils. I feel like she's been pretty important. She's an old school player. She's important to the fans. So why hasn't she been edited that much, right? That's where I can see the criticism coming in, because Stephanie, I think she deserves a big credit.
And I think one of the things we need to do is let's hold our judgment on the season until we get to the merge. There's 17 players that are going to go to the merge. That is a full cast of a normal season of, say, 18 players. Like in a normal season, you've got 17 players still left going into a merge.
And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if the final 5 was like Devens, Christian, Aussie, Sari, and then Emily. I could definitely see that as a final 5. We've seen this time and time again, especially in even Australian Survivor, where you have in Samoa, you got the Samoa, Cook Islands, where the people that have had the experience on going to tribal council just demolishes the entire cast. It is an all-stars season, so people have experience, but there's kind of like that muscle memory that you can get by going to the first, like, what in Christian's case, 8 tribal councils or something in a row. He's been battle tested. Like, he's probably gone to like the same amount of tribal councils that Michelle did when she won her season. Like, like he has a lot of experience.
I want to say hello to Christian in the live. Christian's also saying, I think it's going to be level to Winners at War. Do the edit, but the edit is similar to Survivor China in Christian's mind. It's too long ago for me to remember how the edit was in Survivor China, and if it was similar in that way.
I remember there were a few people that was. I remember like Aaron was screwed, and I remember like Todd and Amanda and James were pretty big characters. Courtney as well. And it's like it. obviously they, those are the pretty much the final 4 or whatever. I don't quite remember who the final 4 were, but you can sort of see that coming in.
But personally, I think that's what makes, like, I've been critical of Australian Survivors at times with its edit, just over editing certain players, and it's too obvious one of these players are going to win. I'm not on the same boat as you. I don't think, like, if Christian wins this season, he is going to rank as one of the best winners that we have ever seen play Survivor, because he's going to be too visible.
Game.
Yeah, he's too out in the front, taking hits, making moves. Like, I just don't see how that kind of game wins this season with the caliber of players that we still have in the game. But if he does, like, I'm here for it. Like, it'll be one of the best seasons. Exactly. It's not impossible. It's not impossible. But Tony played a big game in Winners at War, but people didn't realize how big of a game he was playing. He was kind of sitting back for a large portion of the early game and then started speeding up at the end when he needed to make moves, right? So,
and the rest of the cast, the cast that are not on Christian's tribe, they might not see what Christian has done pre-merge, right? You're just going to have,
you don't think Stephanie's going to go out to the merge and say, hey, Christian absolutely ran this tribe. He made all the moves. Aussie, who's got a chip on his shoulder is not going to be honest about that.
Who's Stephanie going to tell? Like Colby? Did Colby care?
Coach? I still think I think you're underestimating the Colby Coach Joe alliance. Like, if you're asking me, put house money on who's going deep in this game at the moment, I'm putting my eggs in that basket. I reckon, and I don't know if that's what the fans want, but I think Colby Coach and Joe, because they're always getting also consistent content, and they're building that team still on the side, but they're not as out in the front as Christian.
I think they're the second big alliance that gets killed post-merge. Like, I can see like the old schoolers plus Jonathan, like all those people that are aligned with them. And I think Devons is going to go back to sort of like I don't even know what to call them, but like the Sari, Devons, Aussie, like that sort of not Aussie, Christian and Emily. I think that's going to be the major alliance that comes to the end. Because I can definitely see, like, I see an old school alliance pulling together. So, and it's interesting. Like, I love the fact that we're 14 minutes into this and we haven't spoken about a single thing that actually happened in the episode, but just our fan theories. But this is what the podcast is about, right? I could see, like, one thing that stood out for me in this specific episode that was very telling was Sari not telling Devons that the tides was shifting, because I thought Sari and Devons had a thing coming into this alliance, right? I thought they spoke about the idol. Sari felt really good with Devons. Devons was out in the cold on this vote, right? So Sari shifted over to D, Camilla, and Rizzo, and that relationship piece between Rizzo and Colby that was shown early. I think you're underestimating the old school alliance. I think Sari could easily work with Coach, Colby, and Joe. I think Aussie could easily work there. I think the Aussie rivalry with Coach is going to come to a head, and they're going to find some common ground. Like, I see a whole group of old school players getting together after the merge, and the middle schoolers like your Devons, your Christians, and things like that. The reason that we saw the idol being planted at Tribal Council, like, I think there's going to be some action, but it's going to be interesting. There. I'm on, like, I think these are the two big factions that we're seeing coming into the merge, and we've been told the story of Christian's faction and the story of Coach's faction, the old school versus new school, and that, I think we're both in agreement that that's going to come to a head, but we probably think that the opposing sides are going to win the war in this one. It's kind of how I'm reading it. And I think it reflects who we drafted as well. Like, to be honest,
100%.
I mean, you're cool. It would be cool to see the old schoolers sort of win out, but I think it will come down to the people in the middle. So you've got Aussie's probably going to be sort of in between. I don't know where Suri and Aussie are going to be.
So where's D leaning? Where's D leaning? Where's Rizzo, Camilla, and that faction? Tiff, I don't know. This is the problem because Tiff was also in that group, but we just don't know anything about Tiff's game.
Yeah,
and we're
kind of the floaters in the middle. Yeah, the floaters in the middle. It's like I think they're going to fracture, and so like you're probably going to see Rizzo probably vibe pretty well with the new schoolers. I would hope. And maybe D comes with her, and then maybe they come with like Tiffany, and Tiffany might be sort of like she might get idled out. And this is probably why we're not seeing much of Tiffany. She probably gets idled out in this war about the sort of, and she's just like she's holding on to D because D's the one that's holding on to Rizzo, and Rizzo is kind of like shaping up to be a bit of a power player, to be honest. But we haven't really had the chance to see Rizzo interact with, say, Christian, right? So when those two come together, it'll be interesting to see how they interact. If they hate each other or they really like each other, who knows?
Yeah. Hello, Willie. Welcome to the live stream. We've just been talking about what potentially could happen going into the merge. Where are people sitting? Where could the allegiances be heading into this merge of 17 players, which is crazy. Before we actually get into the episode and talk about some of these highlights of this episode, what's your theory in regards to a 17-player merge? Do you think we're going to get that split tribes going to tribal council every single time? So it's at the macro level, it looks like it's a merge. At the micro level, you're splitting into two groups. You're going into separate tribal councils, and we're voting two people out for the next 5 rounds or something to just sort of make up some space or get rid of some players. I think we're going to go into overdrive, right? There's way too many players left.
Yeah, I think I was telling you yesterday that's kind of like One World, what One World should have been, where it's like essentially 18 people on a beach or whatever. And then like they'll like randomize up the who goes to tribal council. That might put a little bit too much variance inside the game, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I would prefer if they would just be like, they go to tribal council, they vote off somebody, and then Jeff says, by the way, we're going to vote off our second person. I think that'll be cooler because then you can sort of see like, you still see people think on their feet, but at least they could like, you could open up to live tribals. And I know a lot of people don't like live tribals, but I mean, that opens up that possibility. Whereas I feel like if you randomize it up, you could get somebody that's completely screwed in that situation where all the numbers are on the other side. And we've seen that quite a bit, but I guess if you're a good survivor player, you have to be adaptable as well. But I think it just rewards safe gameplay there, where a season like this, I want people to really take risks.
Totally agree with you. So let's talk about the episode a little bit here. Aussie coming back to tribe after tribal, coming back to the tribe, absolutely losing his marbles. Very upset about the fact that he wasn't on the vote. Flip-flops back and forth quite a bit about, do I take Christian out in this move? Do I not take Christian out in this move? Classic Aussie. Like you've called it before. Like Aussie's going to Aussie out on the beach. Like, was there anything surprising about this? Where do you think Aussie sits in this game right now? Because I'm really confused about anything about Aussie. Like maybe it is because he's holding out to get to the merge and hoping to link up with some of these old schoolers and try and work with them. I actually just don't understand his game at all, because the only thing we've seen about Aussie is he's going to play a different game, and he keeps playing the same game he's played many times out on the island.
Yeah, I felt like I was watching South Pacific. Like this was South Pacific 2.0. You know, it's the Whitney. Is it Whitney that was, or Elise that was voted off? Yeah, yes. It was Elise that was voted off. Exactly the same situation, exactly the same sort of reaction in the moment. Then it was kind of like you brought in sort of the element from Cochrane sort of later on in the season, sort of betraying Aussie as well, which was kind of like merged into one. So that was kind of like the exact situation. And it just felt like very PTSD from Aussie. It's like, oh my God, this happened again. I promised this wouldn't happen, and it did happen. So I can understand where Aussie's coming from, because you have this scar tissue from 13 years ago, I think it was 14 years ago. He's been living that the entire time, and this happened again. But what I really liked about it was in the morning, he did like a 180. It's like, look, that was me last night. I was acting emotional. I was being Aussie. That's fine. You know, I'm 45-year-old Aussie. You know, I'm a little bit more mature. I can hug it out with Christian. But then he goes out and he does sort of kind of almost threatens Christian, say, if you don't give me your shot in the dark, which I guess a shot in the dark this season is the fire token of the season. You know, just give it to me. And I thought that was maybe a little bit too much from Aussie. I think he was acting a bit of an asshole. But the way that Christian played it felt pretty good. But Ozzy here, great player. No, great character, not so great player. He's just, it's you cast Ozzy, you kind of know what you're gonna get, and I'm just glad that we're getting this side of Ozzy because it's more interesting. I don't want to water down Ozzy. I want the true guy that can swim really fast and
you don't want game changers Ozzy.
You don't want game changers Ozzy because I don't even remember one thing that he did on that season. So this is superhero Ozzy. South Pacific Ozzy is the best Aussie in my opinion. So I want to see more of that. And, especially if you've got South Pacific coach out there as well, which is shaping up to be, this is going to be going to be a pretty big head-to-head. And I feel like Aussie's going to, if he's in the middle, he's probably going to be against coach, to be honest.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And I think that this season almost should have been called Ghost Island Season 2. Because they're fighting the ghosts of their past in the season constantly. It's constantly the ghosts of their past coming back to haunt them in the game. And I'm here for it. I love the overarching storylines that are sort of coming into the season and the way that the production team and the editing team is sort of giving us those flashbacks, which just sort of, they're going back into the archives to refresh our memories of seasons that we've seen in the past, which is so much fun.
Yeah. And it actually, I know you're not watching Australian Survivor to echo Australian Survivor. That's been a constant theme. It's like there's one player, which I can say who the player is. It's Mark. He's one of the only returning players. He keeps on talking about the Ghost of the Jungle, and then the Ghost of the Jungle of his previous season is always in his ear, sort of whispering in his ear. And it's like, it's the same type of concept. I think it's just American Survivor is doing the redemption team a lot better than the Australian version because the Australian version only has like 4 returnees. So
so most of the people don't have baggage. Most of the players in Australian Survivor doesn't have the baggage there, but it's an interesting season, and what I like about it from a Survivor US perspective is that for all those people that are newer school fans who only got into the show, say season 41 onwards, and there are a lot of them. Like we like to, excuse my language, we like to shit talk the new era, but there's a lot of people who really like the new era because that's all they know. They came on board after COVID, or and started watching the show,
and all the seasons can be slow. Yeah.
Exactly. But what Survivor's doing with this content is they're actually selling, I think, their older seasons to the newer fans. Like now when you watch it, you're like, oh, who's Cochrane? I need to go back and watch this. I want to see what happened there. Or, I really enjoy how they're doing it this season.
Or who's Aussie? Like I want to see every Aussie season.
Like literally your partner who watches, shout out to her, watching a lot of or listening to a lot of our podcasts, every time in the beginning when she was saying, I don't even know who Aussie is, like,
Who's Aussie,
because she hasn't watched. Yeah, exactly. So, and I think it's cool because now there's something for you to go, like, let's go watch Aussie's first season. Because I think Aussie 1.0 was the best Aussie we ever saw play the game, right? Because we won't spoil it for her, but like that Aussie was in a very legitimate position to potentially win the game. And every single time Aussie's come back since then, his game has gone backwards. Like he's one of those players that if he played one time, Andre, and never came back, we would have talked about him as one of the best to never win. I feel like, like he would have been up there, right?
Up until Dom, I think he was the closest to win without actually winning, which was, and he's done that twice as well, by the way. Which
he was so likable that season as well.
Yeah, I mean, I did show her the mutiny, so I think that's kind of like the perfect end when you show the mutiny and just like, I want to know what happens here. Yeah,
exactly. Such a good season, and mutiny. What a twist! But let's talk about episode 5 a little bit further. So obviously Christian does end up giving his shot in the dark. I was very fearful for him going into tribal council this episode because it looked like if there was ever an episode where, Survivor does this a lot. The Q was kind of a victim of that earlier in this season where they build up your edit so much, you get so much content, and then they take you down by the knees before you get to the merge. And I thought Christian could go down this path because he's been running the narrative. He took out Mike. Angelina, clearly very close to Mike in real life, could have easily flip-flopped here and worked with the other side to take out Christian. And I think this is where Angelina gave a lot of credit to Emily. We didn't see it on the episode, but apparently she felt good with Emily. Emily was the one who kept her calm, and was also the reason why she didn't play the shot in the dark, because she thought Emily had her back going into this episode. So we didn't see any of that dynamic, which it's a shame we didn't see it because it probably would have given away too much of where the vote was going to go. And I know that Survivors sometimes on purpose don't show every single thing because there needs to be a little bit of a suspense. Did you legitimately feel in this moment when Christian went to tribal council that he could go home, because I had that feeling that it could go either way here. I wasn't sure where Ozzy was going to go.
Yeah, I definitely thought he was in trouble, mainly because he was on my team. But the editing was pretty good to make it seem like that he was really in trouble. But as soon as the votes were read, I realized I don't think Christian ever was in trouble. So I think they pull one over on me, just because I feel like that would make really, really good TV where it's like I think most people are probably rooting for Christian. They're like, I want Christian to win. I want Christian to go far. To put sort of in, the hero's journey, to put somebody into like a position where they could be voted off, it's great TV. But I realized, they were probably just over editing that. They were kind of saying, okay, well, I don't think he was ever going to go home because it seemed like he had Emily on lock. It seemed like he probably had Stephanie on lock, despite Stephanie saying, hey, I could go either way, or I could do turncoat. I don't think that's Stephanie's game. I think if Stephanie knows that she is locked in with a 3, she's not going to stray from that. And I don't think she's that close. I think they're making her seem closer to Ozzy than she actually is, in my opinion. But I could be wrong. And
could it be that old school connection? Could it be that old school connection that I've been talking about? Like where there's just this, because remember the last time, and this is why it's stuck in my head. The last time that we had old school players come back to play the game in Winners of War, they got outplayed badly. So this is something that must be in the heads of these players that are coming back, where they're like, we're not going to go down like Parvati and Boston Rob in Winners of War. We're gonna make sure that our legacies in this game don't get tarnished, basically. And I feel like I've heard rumors, like listening to some of the interviews. I don't know if you're listening to Exit interviews. I'm finding it interesting this season, so I'm listening to a couple.
This week I did,
yeah. So there's been a lot of rumblings around a pre-season old school alliance. There was obviously alliances that like there's a lot of pre-gaming happening in these kind of seasons, and obviously the Christian, Emily, Devon's one is also a pre-season alliance that obviously came together in the show, which I just wish that the show actually leans into it a little bit more and explain it a little bit better to fans. Like they
did the poker alliance. Remember that? Exactly.
Yeah. So just lean into it. It sounds like there's a big faction of old school players that also aligned prior to the season. So you're talking about your Colbys, your Coach, your Joes, your Jonathans. Jonathan apparently is part of the old school faction.
Well, he's mates with Boston Rob, right?
Yeah, so obviously would have gotten some connections through that. Then you've got Ozzy and Sari and Steph, all old school players. So that's why I'm thinking that could be a legitimate faction, and we could see things happening. And Coach, and there could be things happening at merch that it might not make sense to us. Like Stephanie's gameplay, almost to a certain degree, also in this tribe hasn't. Like she's done the best that she could. She hasn't had agency, but she's stayed off the radar. But we haven't heard much about her thoughts. Like, why is she sticking with Ozzy and not going against them? Why does she work with Christian at times? I don't know. She's one of those players that even though she's gotten content, I don't feel, to your point earlier in the podcast, maybe a bit under-edited.
I think they're going to take, I don't know if you watch much traders, but I think they're going to go down sort of the route rather than old school, new school. Seems like they're doing sort of the Honor Integrity Alliance and sort of the gamers. I think that's probably why they're not leaning too much into like, old school, new school. I think they're doing the sort of loyalty, integrity sort of like crew, because you have people like Jonathan who are technically new school, but they lean more towards the sort of the coach side of things. Yeah. Whereas you might have someone that might be a little, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, who, like, I guess is Sari is old school technically, but she seems to be playing really, really well, like the Devons and the Christians and the Emilys of the world.
She's adapting to the new school game.
Yeah. I think she sees, and this is another reason why I think I have that faction sort of playing, like, winning out in the end, just because I just don't see, and I think that, she's the kingmaker in this season in a very similar way that she was the kingmaker in pretty much all her seasons, right? Or queenmaker, I guess. I think that she's gonna go on that side, and I think that whoever her and say Ozzy pick, I think they're going to be the faction that wins. And I for now, I just don't think it's the sort of the loyalty and integrity alliance. But I could be wrong.
I love it. So what is better? I want to ask you this question. What is better for the 50s era of Survivor? If the gamers, the fast and loose sort of gamers win the season, or if old school and integrity wins season 50? Which one's going to be better for the 50s?
I think old school and integrity would be better because there's going to be a pushback and it's going to be like a real, actual, legitimate discussion that we have within the community. Whereas if the gamers win, it's just going to be the continuation of the 40s, which I agree. I don't think anybody really wants. You kind of want something a little bit different.
Yeah. I actually totally agree with you. And that's why I'm asking the question. I am all for variety in gameplay. And like for me, I think I can't actually take any this is not my take, it's someone else's take that I listened to throughout the week after I watched the episode. But they were saying that, you know, the reason Rizzo is more likable this season than last season is because, and it sounds like it's like, for me, Rizzo wasn't an unlikable character. I just thought he was a non-entity for me in the previous season. He was just one of many game bots in that season. Yeah. Or like calling him a game bot's not fair. He's got personality, but he was just a gamer amongst a bunch of other gamers. This season, Rizzo has a place. He's like a Cochrane or something in the season. And it's exciting to watch Rizzo play the game because he's not one of 20 or 19 other players that are exactly like him, right? You know what I mean? So suddenly he becomes interesting as a character in a season where he now has to play with some players like Suri, who he got married to in this episode, right? So seeing that interaction, it's fun. It's fun to watch people from different walks of life and who have got different views of how to play the game come together. And I think to your point, having a different kind of season where a different type of gameplay wins, I think is good for the show, and it's good to have that variety.
Yeah, and it's good to see him dunk on a villain, right? Because like Charlie is clearly painted out to be a villain. The island's not big enough for the two of us, essentially. And then so you kind of saw Charlie this season as sort of like a mustache twirling, like I'm gonna get him out because he voted off, his best mate, which was a lie, by the way, which is amazing.
Can we get Survivor Redemption Island season 52, Charlie and Rizzo captains of their tribe? Can we make that happen?
Can we get a rivals season, right? Because there's like a ton of really great, right? Like we're just making. I think it was Johnny Fairplay was saying that for the rest of Charlie's life or the rest of Rizzo's life, everybody's gonna remember that rivalry, right? And it's just,
but it's good.
I just love that stuff. Yeah.
I think even though Charlie went out early this season, obviously got outplayed, and I think Charlie is a dangerous player. Like, I know D said he's the dumbest player on the show or on the season, and it's typical D. It's why we love her being back. She's got some sass to her confessionals. But, I think Charlie's a great player who obviously got sort of blinders on because of his previous season. Yeah. And now that this season played out the way it did, like, I want to see a third iteration of Charlie come back because I think he'll play very differently, and I think he'll be a lot more aware. So, he talked a lot about the awareness of being able to watch yourself play the show, and maybe that's Rizzo's biggest advantage. And maybe that's the advantage of some of these players that have come into the show back to back in the past who've done extremely well. It's the unknown factor, but not just that. The fact that they actually play loose and they don't take into consideration what fans thought of them, or, they get to play a different kind of game where they don't overanalyze their moves from their previous season. So maybe that is Rizzo's biggest strength in this season.
Yeah. Well, can I have a hot take here? I think maybe Charlie was never a good player. Hear me out. I think the reason is because he was on 46. And what's 46 is Gabon. It's just full of crazy people, right?
It's true.
So maybe he just seemed like a good player because he was probably the only normal person there. It doesn't mean he's a good player, right? Like he was. I don't know why Maria didn't vote for him, but there must have been some sort of reason that, like, why would you not vote for your biggest alliance in the game? It's like, not to blame Charlie, but it's like it's incumbent to you to shape a jury that's going to vote for you. And if he had blinders on that he didn't know that Maria was going to vote for him, then it's kind of like, and this just goes into the PTSD of the whole situation. We see that Charlie was a pretty sloppy player this season. I don't know if it's due to the PTSD or maybe he was always like this. Maybe on his season on 46, it doesn't really matter if you're talking to, who was it? The rocker guy, Ben, was it? It doesn't matter if you're loose with Ben because clearly Ben's not a good player. Like he's not a really good player. And like maybe Kenzie was just a really good player because Kenzie was able to manage Q. Kenzie was able to manage Banu. Kenzie was able to. I mean, Tiffany was quite.
Just a bit of social player. She was a better social player, and again, it's showing.
Player.
Like, exactly. I feel like whenever these players lose in a final tribal council, it normally shows a clear deficiency in their game plan, right? There's a lack of some social awareness there that has surfaced. Like, have we ever thought it, like, maybe outside of Dom, who got second place, who was just unlucky to go up against Wendell?
Yeah,
I feel like most
Wendell was a good player. I feel like he was in Winners at War. He was edited super badly, but he was a good player. Like, if you remember Dom and Wendell, like, Wendell clearly deserved to win, in my opinion, just because he was the one that was able to handle the Chris Noble situation. And I think Chris Noble was the sort of the Maria of that season. So it's like you can see why Wendell won, right?
Yeah.
I never thought Charlie should have won when I was watching it live. And maybe that's just a hot take on my part, and everybody in retrospect say, I know Charlie should have won. No, Kenzie should have won. Did you see Kenzie in the preview match?
I think Charlie has his fans out there for sure. There's people who love Charlie. I'm similar to you. I always remember him as the Taylor Swift guy, personally.
Yeah.
But now he's going to be Rizzo's rival, which I think is good for him, because I think Rizzo is coming out of this season looking good.
He's more likely to come back after this season because of that rival with Rizzo. Like, I think Fair Play said it best, where fair play only works because there's a Rupert.
Yeah, and I think Rizzo is going to be relevant after this season. Like, we're seeing Rizzo again. So regardless of where he ends. So Alexa Power here back on the live says, a nullified takes stream at normal time in the US. I haven't caught a live with you guys since I used to work the night shift. I agree about Charlie. Wasn't excited to see him return, but what a heartbreaking exit for Charlie. Had no desire to see any new players return, though, truly, but especially no one from 46 except for maybe Tiffany. And then says Charlie's exit was just so sad, and Jeff turning Angelina's final tribal into like a joke, just the mess, no hate. I didn't need to see either of them play again. We do need to talk about Jeff's impersonations, but Lexa, welcome back to the live. This is our normal streaming time for Survivor US content. So we started about 37 minutes ago. So in the future, if you want to pop in and say hello, no pressure. We'll be around. We're going to be talking about the season until its conclusion. So I just wanted to touch, while we're still on the Rizzo subject and this whole thing. I did give Rizzo points this season on our fantasy draft for making a big move, but I also gave points to D, because D probably was the one who actually started this whole thing. And I think that a lot of people lost sight of the fact that if there was no D open to work with sort of Rizzo, no D noticing that there's a boys club starting to form between Charlie, Jonathan, and the likes of Devons, Rizzo would have not been able to do anything in this moment. So I actually think the real power play here was D getting the girls together to work with Rizzo.
We're seeing many sides or a second side of D, right? Because coming into the season, you thought you'd see one D, you'd see the dominant player, but you're seeing a little bit more as a subtle D playing. She's playing a little bit more slowly. She's taking I feel like the Savannah role here, which is sort of like morphed into the Savannah to the Rizzo. So it's going to be quite interesting to see. Like, I don't think she can stay under the radar for that long. Like, she's too much of a powerful, well-known player. But yeah, it's pretty impressive that D was able to somehow sort of shift the target off herself.
I think that D this season is proving why. I know I've always said she's the best New Era winner. I've always liked her win. I would put her up as when you do those tiers, what's it, like S tier, and then underneath that it's like A tier or something like that. I'll probably put her in like that A tier bracket for me personally. Somewhere.
I'll put her in S tier. I think in terms of strong female winners in the history of Survivor, there's Kim, there's Parvati, there's D. I mean, maybe A after her season, but just the fact that she's able to survive this, she's only been to one tribal council. But
you got to put Sandra there. Like, you got to put Sandra in that top bracket, even though Sandra, her wins, like, I've never been a Sandra stan, and I've never said that her games have been the most impressive, but the fact that she's won twice, you got to put her into that conversation.
Yeah. Her wins haven't been S tier, but her as a player and a character is S tier, I would say, because her winning games were not impressive, but the time she didn't win, or at least game change, she did. Sarah, yeah, you're right. Sarah's
got to put her there.
Sarah's on ST too, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like, I think for me, because she's in the new era, and I don't want to go. We'll do maybe you and I should go down and do like a ranking after the season of all of like our winners or players or something. We'll figure something out. It'll be a lot of fun to do. We haven't done content like that in a long time, but I would say for me, she was somewhere in the A tier because of just being a new era winner, not knowing how to place her against some of the old school. But her game was impressive. And I think after the season, there's going to be no doubts. Like, she's made the merge. She's lasting longer than any other winner. And I don't think Dee's going home right at the merge. Like, I think that she's still got some legs. Like, if I had to predict right now, I'd say Dee is middle of the merge boot. She's going to be somewhere in the middle of the merge. She's going to get booted. But I don't think she's going to be the number one target.
I feel like she's very similar to Kim, where Kim and her played almost an identical game. And then Kim sort of makes it maybe mid-merge, and she puts up a valiant fight. She's the only one that sees through Tony's BS. Who's going to be the Tony to D? I'm not sure. Maybe it's going to be like someone like Christian or something like that. But time will tell. I feel like the trajectories are very similar. She's a very similar player for sure.
Yeah, Lexi is saying I'm such a hater on the new era players because I just don't love the new era. But if Rizzo and even D can help Suri win, they can stay. D worries me because she's coming for Suri. I think we spoke about that in one of our previous recaps here on the channel. But both Andre and I believe Andre's still on the same page as me, believe that we're seeing D's story of not taking the shot against Suri before the merge and probably Suri taking out D at some point. I think that's what potentially here will happen. But I know Suri likes playing with strong women, so she could become comfortable with D. And I think that D has there's a side of D that reminds me of Parvati. Always has. Like, they're not exactly the same player, but I think that Suri could see a little bit of that in D, maybe like a Parvati kind of counterpart, which could be dangerous. But, you know, my hope here is that she does put a lot of her trust into the likes of a Rizzo. I hope Rizzo doesn't break her heart and go back to Colby, because that could potentially happen here as well. But talking about Rizzo, like, how much has Rizzo's stocks in your mind gone up for a potential win here this season? Because he's been very much edited every single episode. He's one of the narrators of the season. Do you feel like he's got a real shot at this stage? Because he's now... I do.
Yeah. Before I was like, maybe. Like, probably not, but a maybe. Now it's like he's probably top 5 contender for me, to be honest. It's clear that they're... Yeah, because it's like I was a little bit concerned that, okay, maybe his role in the season is to be cut by Charlie. I thought that might have been a possibility. In retrospect, they were clearly just saying, look, this is just something that he needs to overcome. So I think I would like Rizzo to win. I think that would be like a pretty cool... That would be kind of like almost like a Cochrane type of win. But I think it'll be quite nice just to say, like, even season 49 can hang out with the old schoolers, and, you know, him interacting with Suri, him interacting with Colby, like, that is a true, like, passing of the torch type of moment, to have some of one of the GOAT players, one of the GOAT characters sort of pass the torch on to him. I think that will sort of give him the stripes and the stars and the stripes to say, you know, you can hang out with the rest of those people, and it will come full circle, right? Because he's the same age as Colby was in the Australian Outback. And if he can actually win this season, then it's like, he's not just a kid. He's basically Colby. He's maybe not a modern day Colby, but the same age, same type of sort of like placement. It's kind of like cool full circle moment there.
Yeah, no, I've been loving, like I said, Rizzo for me has gone up. Like, I was hot and cold on him in his own season. I didn't like, he was just okay. This season I'm really enjoying because he came in with a massive target on his back, being the unknown factor. He's had to play a very different game. Like, it was interesting, the montage where he was talking to everybody in his tribe about, this is how I played. I held on to my idol for so many, tribals, and him being so forthcoming with everything. I thought that they were setting it up as to, this is why he loses, because he's been telling people too much about that game, which can be seen as dangerous.
On that, he did make a reference to Russell Hantz. Is he the Russell Hantz of the season? Maybe not as obviously as bad as Russell is, but will he play a similar game as Russell, right? Will he play a similar game where he might screw over coach later on? Will he play a game where he has the idol and he aggressively uses the idol? It's a possibility. Is it the story of how Rizzo loses? Like, that could be a pretty interesting
I think I was going to say to you, I think Rizzo has got longevity in the game, and I see him going deep this season, like potentially a top 5, top 6, similar to you. I don't see him winning though, because for me, I think it's very difficult to see a 25-year-old kid win this season when he's playing with people that are like in their late 40s, mid 40s, 50s. Like, this is a different crowd compared to, like, if this was a new era season, I think he would be more relatable and people would be like, yes, we'll give the kid 25. That's 25 years old. We'll give him $1 million.
Right? Spencer was never going to win. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see him getting to the end, but potentially someone else winning the money, because they'll be like, okay, well, this is this person's 3rd or 4th time playing the game, and they've got it's later in life for them. Like, I just think that they're not going to connect with him on that same level. But maybe the whole story about people not liking Rizzo at first and then turning around on him is going to be a theme where he gets to the end and people are like, you know what, we didn't like you that much in the beginning, or we thought you were a kid and you were a bit immature, but now we actually really like you. So it could go either way, really, at this stage. I want to bring up. Sorry,
before that, what if Colby brings Rizzo to the final 2 or final 3, and then Rizzo wins over Colby? Just a mirror to his first season. That would be pretty interesting.
Surprised to hear you guys are so low on Sandra's Heroes vs. Villains game. It's my favorite. Just love Sandra. She had some fun lives this season on IG too. I'm not like, I don't think she, for me, Parvati and Russell controlled a lot more of the strategy that season.
Parvati played a better game.
100%, but I think you have to acknowledge that Sandra played the best game that she could play that season. Like,
she won.
The fact that she got
by the way,
and she won.
Yeah,
she
won, and that's all you need, right? It's like, okay, Parvati played a better game, but Sandra won. So by definition, Sandra played a better game, right?
Yeah, because the biggest thing that I always remember from that season is Sandra trying to take out Parvati and Russell every single episode and trying to get the numbers and never being able to do so, but them never clocking onto the fact that she was trying to snipe them. So I don't know, like, it's an interesting season. I give Sandra her flowers. Like, she is a top tier player. Like, she's a top tier player, top tier winner. You can't have a 2-time winner not be at the top somewhere, but it doesn't need to be that we think that she played the best game, because Survivor is a complex thing. Ultimately, what we think doesn't matter. It's what the jury thinks at the end of the day, who actually wins. Lexa here says, I wouldn't mind Suri sitting next to D in the final 3 because I don't see D winning again, but I just want the best path for Suri every week. Can see Rizzo going to the end and not winning. He's on the same returnee path that Stephanie and Russell Hans were when they were losing finalists, returning their next season. And then BBG here says, I can see Rizzo losing in Fire again. That would be actually quite poetic, especially after that confessional about not coming to play camp. I want Suri to Eric him. And then BBG saying, I don't think Parvati played a better game. Russell controlled the strategy and Sandra had the better jury management. I agree with that take personally. Like, I think,
well, I mean, we could definitely discuss this till the end of time. I think everybody has their opinion, right? Yes. And I don't think there's how long has it been? 15 years or whatever, 16 years. I don't think anybody has settled on an answer to this. It's going to be the biggest debate of all time in the Survivor world. Yeah, that's why Heroes vs. Villains is always going to be a top 3 season for me. It's just because there were so many good storylines that season. And this season, I think a season is only as good as its storylines. And we've got a bunch of them that are being set up as we're going into the merge here. Just trying to think if there's anyone that we kind of missed out on. The lie that Rizzo told about Kyle with Camilla was a fun moment. And it's one of the reasons why I like Rizzo. Rizzo plays with house money. Like, he's kind of in that same league as like Devins and Christian. I feel like he's that kind of player. He tries things. He throws things at the wall and sees what sticks. And even though Camilla doesn't fully know if she can trust him or believe him, she's kind of choosing to believe him for now. Yeah. Well, was Camilla really the swing vote here, or was she presented as a swing vote to make the tribal a little bit more interesting? Because if she was the swing vote, great, that's like an accurate portrayal. But if she wasn't actually the swing vote, but they portrayed her as a swing vote, could this be a thing where she's like a longer term player? But why would they have hidden Camilla so like early on? Is it just because she didn't go to tribal or she wasn't that interesting? Or is this going back to Angelina's point about, they're not giving sort of Camilla her flowers? Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that I had that same thinking after the episode where I was like, I don't know if Camilla really was the swing vote, because I think Camilla was always going to go wherever D was going to go. And I think that those two are working very closely together. We saw that alliance from pre the swap, and Suri being a part of that
being 3 females and that to take the control. Like, I don't think I think Rizzo's being overshown as the mastermind personally in this move. Like, I think they were over, but you got to ask yourself, why are they doing that? And again, that comes down to Rizzo probably going deep in the game and having a big storyline beyond just getting to the merge.
Yeah. And I think for me here, just based on this episode, maybe it's just the way the episode went, but I feel like Rizzo has leapfrogged Devon's on the power rankings because Devon's had a pretty bad episode. I feel like he was still present, but I mean, I guess they didn't really clown on him too much. They said, look, Devon's is being like, he's trying to go with the numbers. And then I really like the callback to his first season about him being a passenger. I thought that was like, chef's kiss. But like, I don't know what to make of Devon's now. It's like, are they just putting his story on the back burner until he gets back with them and he gets back with Sari and Christian and the crew? Because I have my eye on that storyline too.
For sure. And I love it because obviously Devon's is a part of your fantasy team. So you're locked in on him. What is Devon's doing? The Devon's watch. I did appreciate Devon's turning around to Rizzo afterwards and saying, well played, like he respects good gameplay. Yeah. And it's like, those moments are really endearing. And I think that Rizzo will appreciate it. I think it's good for Devon's game. He's not sour in that moment that he was left out of the vote. I want to read a couple more comments here. So Alexa saying, funny how we all disagree on who played the best game, but Sandra and Parvati are both on Survivor Mount Rushmore for everyone, but not Russell. I think Russell, similar to Ozzy, if Russell only played the 2 seasons that he played and never came back, we would have discussed at Mount Rushmore. That season that he came back after that didn't look good, and then Australian Survivor looked even worse for him when he came back. So I feel like he's only done damage to us.
You need a win to be on the Rushmore, to be honest.
I agree.
And as soon as Tony won, I don't think he had a chance, to be honest.
I think, and this is maybe a hot take, maybe not. Like, I think Russell is in the Mount Rushmore potentially, and I haven't given this enough thought, right, of non-winners, like people who haven't won, but he's so good. Like, I've always said this: if you had and you get FIFA, you can play FIFA soccer games and stuff on PlayStation, and you can build your own ultimate teams with like card decks, and people have got 99 in pay, so many in dexterity. Like, if we had a card game of Survivor, Russell would be like 99 in strategy, like 50 below in social. 0 on social. So like, he's just so one-sided, but I mean, you can't ignore the fact that he was a great strategic mastermind of the seasons that he played. But the stuff that he goes on about outside of the game just makes him less and less likable. But if we're just talking about his game itself,
he's probably on a character Mount Rushmore in terms of like people that like consequential characters, but not as players. Like, you can't say that.
We still remember him. He's still memorable. Lexa says we could be seeing a 41 type edit, decoy male winner, Xander Christian with all the screen time, women with smaller edits in the background, pre-merge edit focusing on advantages. I've got a feeling personally, if this becomes true, my money is on Colby winning the season. Like, I still have some money on Colby winning the season because he's getting the confessionals every single episode. He's relevant, still in the storyline. And for some other reason, I could see him just being that under-edited. Like, even though he's getting the edit, he's not seen as like strategic or at the crux. They're just showing his social game and how well he's getting along with everyone. And I could again see that this episode with Coach giving him the Oakbound Warrior nickname, and then to Joe, the Stonebound Warrior nickname, right? A little bit of a Coach throwback to giving nicknames to his allies.
Yeah, I feel like if a woman wins, though, what does that look like? Like, if a Genevieve wins, I would expect this edit from Genevieve. If Aubrey wins, I expect this edit from Aubrey. I mean, I don't think Stephanie's going to win with the edit she's had. If Sari wins, I feel like this is the edit that we'll get. Like, this is not an under-edited Sari, I don't feel. I think she's been pretty present. So I think it lines up. It's just if Tiffany's not going to win. Like, it's just like, we can forget that. Like, if a D wins, like, this is the edit that we'll get. Like, we haven't really seen her because she hasn't been relevant. And as soon as she becomes relevant,
Emily's not winning because Emily's being portrayed as chaotic.
Yeah. I mean, D
I would say the most likely female winners at this stage would be probably Aubrey, Genevieve, depending on who wins that battle between the two of them. Sari definitely up there. will anyone let D win twice? Like if D gets to the finals, she could potentially sneak it. Like
if D gets to the finals, I think they would have to respect that. Like that would be impressive if she was able to get to the end. Like we immediately see her. I wouldn't say she manipulated Rizzo, but she got Rizzo on her side immediately. Like that was very impressive, and she was able to corral the numbers with like with the four and Camilla, and I think what Suri was part of it. She was able to get Suri on board. Like that's.
Yeah.
Or Suri was able to get D on board, like think about that. That's crazy.
Yeah. Lexa saying, interesting about Colby. I could maybe see Coach winning. I need more from Colby to consider him a winner contender. I totally agree with you. I think Coach probably is more likely at this point because everybody's loving Coach this season and they just want to play with Coach, the legend of Coach. So I think people could vote for Coach in a Coach Colby Joe final scenario. Like it could go either way because Colby's also loved and well respected and socially very strong. So I don't know where it's going to go between those two. It'll be between Coach and Colby for sure. But I think just from an aspect of who's maybe like an under the radar kind of winner, I feel like Colby is just getting enough content for us to know he's still there, but he's not necessarily driving anything.
Yeah, what did you make of Coach's confessional about keeping the Dragon Slayer down? I felt like he was very like almost too self-aware there, which is kind of like you're almost looking at the South Pacific Coach where he's like, he's a little bit more self-aware. He's a really, really good player. He realizes he's playing a character. And I think this is one of the first times that we actually see on screen Coach being that self-aware, which I found quite fascinating. Is this the beginning of the end for Coach, or is this the beginning of him sort of dominating the game? Because he could be set up to actually dominate this game if his alliance wins out like you think that it's gonna happen. That could be a pretty interesting season. It could be South Pacific though, again, where it's just like the cult of Coach.
Yeah, very, very easily. I love this from Coach. I mean, Coach is saying that this is the first time he's playing as Benjamin, right? He's playing as his true self, right? He's not
Coach and Ozzy are the same person.
Yeah. Coach is a better player than Ozzy. Let's be real about that. But I mean, but to your point, Coach is a very intelligent person, right? And he's done the whole play up a character thing already for TV. I don't think he's thinking about another returnee season after this. I think this is truly his farewell to Survivor, his sayonara. And I think he wants to, if there's one season he would want to win, it's going to be this season. And if he has to play down that character inside of him, then he's going to do it this season.
Could it be like, because obviously he played with Boston Rob and South Pacific, he clearly played a Boston Rob type of game. Is this his version of Redemption Island, where he just dominates? Because, they're setting him up to be like, everybody wants to be in alliance with Coach. Surprisingly, actually. I know that, he was number one on your draft, but I didn't think that it would work on All-Stars. But I guess if you got Colby and Joe on an All-Star season, then I guess you can see that work, and maybe like Jonathan, who knows?
Yeah, I think Jonathan could fall into that. Lexi is saying, I think the merge could really mix up the winner contenders. We got to see who takes control and decide the merge vote. I could see Coach going all Gabler and winning over the men. And I think potentially this is the reason why we're seeing a lot of men being over-edited compared to the women in that narrative being out there. Is potentially this could be a season that gets dominated by a lot of these men forming together, which I know there will be a pocket of fans that would hate it, like if that happened online.
That would be very controversial,
like if something like that happened. But for me, it's like, again, like I said, I am okay with it happening from time to time, similar to when we've got we celebrate both, even right? When the Black Widow Alliance is there, let's celebrate it. Like, it's awesome. The women took control of the game and they won this. Like, let's keep it moving. Like, next season, there's a new opportunity for a different alliance to take control. BBG is saying, I think the winner is coming from Kyle's tribe because of that focus on one of them winning. So Colby, Genevieve, Aubrey, Rizzo, or Stephanie. My original pick was Q, sadly. It could also just be a red herring. They could have just thrown it in there to throw us off the trail of who's actually going to win. But I know they've done it in the past, and we've seen winners win the game when that's happened on the show. I can't recall it, but I'm pretty sure it's happened. This is like a known editing trick that they do within Survivor. Okay, so Alexei here says, I don't put too much stock into winner quotes anymore. Remember, Cody in 43 had a great winner's quote about having spent the money already, and he ended up being a decoy winner. Narrator, I wish they brought Roxroy back. I liked Roxroy as well. And Jonathan running immense lines would have been fun. It could be a red herring, but just felt they spend more time on the medvac than they really needed to. And that could just be because Kyle, I think, is a really well-liked winner and someone that they wanted to give a proper farewell to. Who knows?
I also think that they deliberately, and I feel like this is a very deliberate thing, where they wanted to make the first half of the season deliberately slow so we can get the maximum exposure to all of the characters. So they didn't really want to, they really wanted to develop that tribe a little bit more. They take that opportunity because most of those people haven't even gone to tribal council. So half of those haven't gone to tribal council. So it was a good way to develop that as well, because they know that maybe from this season on, that the characters are really the stars of the show, right? It shouldn't be Jeff, right?
Yeah. Well, talking about Jeff not being the star of the show, were you pro the impersonations or against the impersonations that happened?
I liked it, but I've got another hot take. I think that Rodney was a much better impersonator. Getting Rodney back to do impersonations. It was very good. Yeah, I like that. I didn't see that coming.
I did not see you pulling out Rodney's name on this podcast.
Rodney is actually one of my low-key favorites.
I like them as well. I know. I'm glad to know you and I have got the same hot take around Rodney. We should get him back. I want to see him celebrate another.
Rodney was a good player too. He was a very good player. He was surprised. He was edited very. It's just the Rodney love fest at this stage.
Yeah. He's got some strange stuff going on in his personal life outside of the game. So I don't know if we're going to see him back on the show. But he was a character.
Don't follow his Instagram, guys. More of this type of content from Jeff and less of the rap. I would say that I feel like maybe Jeff's going a little bit more senile these days. So definitely. just let him do his Jeff things. I still want to see grumpy Jeff back, but I'll take this Jeff. This is fine. Just
to be honest with you, I found myself laughing out hard to that segment. I was actually laughing at it. I thought it was fun. It was I wasn't.
Until Christian wasn't very happy.
No, but he was spot on with Christian. He was spot on with Jonathan and Colby. I thought it was a fun little moment, and I don't know, maybe it's just, Jeff's worn me. He's worn me down over the last 9 seasons. I'm just giving in to him now. I'm just like, okay, Jeff's gonna Jeff. Let him Jeff out there. Let him
just do your senile stuff, Jeff. Just
let's get it out of the way. It's your segment, and we keep moving on with the game. Trying to think if there's anything that we haven't spoken about before we go into the draft. I think
we've
speak covered
about
all
Aubrey and Genevieve at all. Were they even on this episode?
I think Aubrey got in. Genevieve didn't get a single confessional. I think Aubrey had a confessional or two, and there was this big, I guess when you look at what happened in the previous episode, they really spent a lot of time explaining the whole Genevieve versus Aubrey rivalry, and then that all ended up being nothing.
They were saying something where Aubrey was going on and on about how much she respected Genevieve, but Genevieve didn't want to play with her, which directly contradicted their original conversation where Aubrey was the one that actually knocked back Genevieve in that. So what are they even trying? They're telling completely different things in the edit. And I think Angelina was saying that Angelina really wanted to work with Aubrey, but they didn't show any of that. And actually, Aubrey knocked back Angelina. So that would actually directly contradict what Aubrey was saying about nobody wants to play with me when Angelina wanted to play with Aubrey. So there's something weird going on with this Aubrey situation. I don't know what to think. I don't know what they're trying to do with her as a character this season. It's very strange.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that I've been of the opinion from the start that we're seeing Aubrey portrayed in not such a great light. I know there's some podcasters who believe that Aubrey is the one who's going to win the battle between the two of them. I'm leaning more towards Genevieve, especially now that we're going into the merge. I was very fearful for Genevieve prior to that because that idol could have been something that would have idled out Genevieve in that moment. But I think that she's now got some allies again and will have some room to maneuver if she goes into the merge. But Aubrey, I just don't know about her. She's coming across, she was the one, like you said, who didn't want to give anything to Genevieve when Genevieve clearly wanted to work with her. And she's the one doing the eye rolling. She's the one who's I don't know. It's she's not enjoying being out there. We're not seeing her in a positive light. I feel like at this stage.
Last season, I will actually give an analogy. I think she's very similar to Sage last season. I liked Sage. I thought that Sage was a very good character, and I felt she actually came off as quite likable. Yeah. Are they trying to do a Sage type of thing with Aubrey? Like, because Sage did the eye rolling.
But I think, no, I don't think so. I don't think it's that simple. I think that last season with that Sage, I forgot the girl who she was against.
It was Shannon.
Shannon. That girl was clearly portrayed as being against her. And that girl was clearly
Shannon Genevieve, though.
I don't think so. I think Genevieve honestly wanted to work with Aubrey. And then since then, she's just been loyal to her group. She's not going around spreading misinformation like that girl did in the previous season. Like, I don't think it's like a like for like between the two seasons. Like, I like Sage because Sage was clearly seeing through the BS that other girl was trying to, play on her. I don't think Genevieve's trying to, like, Genevieve's being very upfront and honest about how she's playing, who she's playing with. So I don't see it exactly the same way. I'm just looking through my notes to see if there's anything else that we missed on. I don't think so. Let's, before we go into the actual fantasy and the points and all that kind of stuff, top 3 winner picks right now. Who's that for you?
Christian, Rizzo. Ooh, I'm gonna do a very bold call here. I'm gonna say D. I don't think maybe in the game it's possible for her to, but I feel like if she was gonna win, this is the way that she would win. That's the if it turns out I'm right, that's gonna be like prescient. But Christian number 1 for sure. It's his story for me, and then Rizzo is I think this is coming out episode, and it's like this would be a really good story. So I don't have Colby there yet though.
Okay, well for me, I've got Colby, I've got Coach, and Colby, Coach, and then the third one, like I want to put Rizzo there. I just don't know if Rizzo can win, but let's put Rizzo there. I'll go Colby, Coach, and Rizzo because I'm more leaning towards that old school one. I think Christian is similar to Lexa here. I think Christian is the decoy winner.
I think he's the Tony. I think he's the Tony of the season.
And you know what? I hope
maybe wishful thinking.
I actually hope you're right because I think that would be a more exciting season to watch. Like if he's out in the front, like I like the Tony kind of winners, the winners that put it all on the line that I can go back on and say, wow, he was out on the front from the start, pulling all the moves, and no one could take him out. No one actually saw what he was doing. I like those kind of wins. Let's see what BBG is saying. He's saying Colby, Genevieve, and Aubrey. Okay, so one of my 3 in there. We've got
it's a quite good theory though. Like either one, whoever wins about Genevieve and Aubrey is going to have a really good. It's like we don't know who's going to win, but whoever's going to win is probably likely going to win. Like I think that's actually good.
I think for our draft, if Aubrey wins, it would be the best because she wasn't picked. She fell to me in the last place. Like I love winning a show on someone that was like given to me as the very last pick. I just think there's something.
It reminds me of all the Kagayan drafts where everybody just let Tony go last and then Tony ended up winning.
Yeah, Winners of War, same thing. Nobody wanted to touch Tony going into Winners of War. So Alex is saying winner picks is Coach, Aubrey, and Suri. I don't feel good about my Suri pick, but got to pick one who I want. That's fair.
I think she can win. I think she's in my contenders of who can win.
Yeah, I think he's the Xander, but maybe he's the Cochrane. So
yeah.
So he could be Xander, Christian, or he could be Cochrane,
or he could be like
Jesse. He could be Jesse. He could be Jesse from the new era.
You think it's a fallen angel?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe.
I think he's a fallen angel. But I would love to be wrong about that. I'm enjoying Christian this season. He's not in my draft, but at the end of the day, I'm team good TV. Like whatever's going to make for good TV, I'm going to support that. And I don't know if my winner picks, like I think a Coach win would be fun. I do like a Colby win from the standpoint of him finally getting redemption after he didn't win originally, so that would be fun as well.
The only trepidation I have about Coach possibly winning is it might be like watching the end game of South Pacific and it was like deadly boring. That's my only concern if he does very, very well, because he's going to play the Boston Rob type of game and it's not going to be very interesting TV. So that's my only concern about Coach.
That's true. Okay, let's have a look here. Finally, we've got some movement on the draft, and you don't lose any players this week. So Angelina voted out, and then Charlie, following Angelina, voted out here. So we finally have players from both my team and the TNT community leaving, which gives you a little bit of an opportunity here to make up some ground on the points situation. However, you are playing with a lot less players. So the way that it works this season is that if you have a player survive the episode, they get a point. For me, obviously, that's everybody except for Angelina. I also had, again, Coach Colby, Joe, and Aubrey win immunity outright. So that was 3 points each. Then Angelina had a -5 because she was voted out. But I did put a big move down for D because I believe personally, I think D probably made the biggest move this episode going against her allies and pulling Rizzo in, even though the edit didn't give her all the credit, but it gave her some of the credit, which is still good. Then in your team, we had Christian, Genevieve, and Devons all survive. We had Genevieve win outright. No loss of points this week for you. Christian, I put down as making a big move because I think giving his shot in the dark was the thing that ultimately kept them in the game. And that's what the show wanted us to believe. In any case, it was a leap of faith, right, to do that, Andre, and it worked out in his favor. So the big
Are we giving off 2 big moves because there were 2 tries went to trouble?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I think so. It's fair because anybody that had a big move that ended up playing out at a tribal, I would go. So D, big move, Christian, big move. And then the other big move that I did give is in the TNT community because I also gave it to Rizzo. It's not the only move, but you have to give Rizzo some credit here as well. We didn't even talk about this whole Charlie situation coming up to him in the hammock in the morning or the boat. Like, why is Rizzo sleeping in a boat, Andre? Like, he's not sleeping with the rest of the tribe. He's sleeping.
He's pretty comfortable, actually. I think I would be sleeping in the boat as well. That's a hack if you're ever on Survivor. Sleep in the boat.
Yeah, people just come up to you and have conversation. Similar to Suri, like Suri's superpower, just laying down and people coming to her, telling her about their games, right?
Yeah, I actually saw, by the way, with Suri, I think she's the only one in the game that knows about every single advantage in the game, which is an interesting stat that I just heard about.
Yeah. Did you like her sharing the extra vote secret with Rizzo?
Yeah, I think she's playing a slightly different game this time than all her other. I think she's very adaptable, and I think she realizes that for her to win, she needs people. She needs to share information. She needs to have new people on her side. So I think that was a very strong. I don't think it's not going to come and bite her. I don't think, because I feel like it's an opportunity to sort of bring the Rizzo and the Aussies and sort of the crew together now that it's emerged. So it seems like the theme for this episode was sharing information, and information is power. And we saw like and it was a direct contrast with what Charlie did, where Charlie was giving information, but way too late. And then it made people turn on him. So I really like the way that Suri did it. It was very subtle, but it worked really, really well compared to Charlie and even Rizzo.
I think it's showing what we mentioned earlier. Suri's adapting well to the new school game, and she's showing she can adapt from. Well, I mean, she adapted extremely well even to Australian Survivor, and Australian Survivor is a lot more of a fast-paced game.
Technically, a new schooler because she has played like last season, literally.
Yeah, that's very true. So obviously in the TNT community, everybody survived. Chrissy and Tiff won outright immunity. Also a -5 to them on the Charlie vote out. I did put points though for Charlie getting caught in a lie. Because I believe because Rizzo caught him out by him saying like, he didn't really tell anyone about the votes or anything like that. I remember there was something there where he got kind of caught out. And also the fact that he got caught out for wanting to work with Rizzo when he didn't really want to.
Rizzo also got caught in a lie by Camilla when Rizzo was talking about, by the way, Kyle said this. And Camilla was like, no, he didn't.
I considered it, but she didn't say definitively. She said, it sounds strange. I don't know if it's true, but for now, I'll believe him. Right. So I don't feel she's reluctant. If she in the future comes around and says, absolutely, that must have been a lie, then I'll give her the points. But I don't think she's locked in on it. So, because I considered it, we do have Rizzo for 3 points on the big move. So where does that leave us at the end of this week? So you've got a lot of ground to make up. You're still in third place with 49 points. You scored a total of 4 points this week. So no, actually, that can't be right. No, it can't be right, actually. No, that's got to be wrong. So 3... Well, I might have to fix this formula. Let me just have a quick look.
it was only 1 point for surviving, right? And winning immunity, and no one, only Genevieve won immunity for me, so that's 3, and then +1 Genevieve won outright, so that's only 4 points because Christian didn't have anything happening with him this episode. Really.
I see what's wrong. I had Mike White still a -5 for you. So he actually had 9 points this episode. So yeah, that goes up to 54 points for you in total, still in the bottom spot for now. And then in second place, we've got TNT Community on 83 points. TNT Community had 13 points this week. And then in first place, we've got myself on 93 points, 17 points from this week. So still a lot of players, a lot of outright immunity wins within this tribe, and then the one big move by D giving me some points. So it's all to play for between TNT Community and myself at this stage. Your best bet at this stage, Andre, is for us to start losing numbers drastically. You need us to start losing 2 players at a time each week now for the next 3 episodes at least.
I just need like a Christian Genevieve Devon's final 3. I think that's the only thing that could possibly save me.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. Like, who would have thought that, we would go this far in 4 episodes in a row, you losing all of your players.
I was sweating when Christian was in trouble.
If the fan theories out there were right with Christian and potentially Genevieve going this week, you would have been, if Devons was your sole person in the game, it would have been like, geez, you'd have to pull out
could have been voted off this week too, considering he was like an outsider. So I was very stressed.
Yeah, let's see what people are saying here. Would coach's habit of hugging people he just blindsided on the way out be more well received in 2026? In the 20s during South Pacific, the game was so much more serious. Now it's all hugs and fun. Good question. I think probably it would.
Was it in like the first episode when they voted off Jenna Lewis, somebody tried to hug her? Am I hallucinating that? And I don't think she took that too kindly. Yeah.
No, but she's an old school player, so, and I probably
there's a lot of old school players here too, though. So
true. Who do you think will be the merge boot? Good question. Who do you have, Andre? Who's the merge boot? I think it's going to be 2. I'll call it. There's going to be 2 boots at the merge.
Look, I mean, I know that I had D going really, really far, but I think that it's either she gets voted off at the merge or she goes really far. I think if she can get through the merge, I think she's in the most trouble because she's just the biggest. I think she's like, they see the winner, let's just get off the winner.
I'm going to say, I think Tiff. Yeah. I feel like Tiffany.
Could get idled
Tiffany's had no edit. Yeah, Tiffany's had no.
I could see them like targeting like someone like Ozzy, and Ozzy just playing an idol on himself or something like that. Or like Genevieve. Was it Genevieve's like going to like, oh yeah, let's just get out Ozzy, they will try to blindside him, and then Ozzy somehow gets wind of it, and then it ricochets back.
Yeah, let's think about this. There's 2 main factions in the game. Who would the gamers target? Aubrey's going to go over to the gamers, going to play with them. They're probably going to go for Genevieve. She's got that target in mind. So Genevieve is a potential person.
I think Genevieve is going to slot in with I think they're gonna put away their rivalry just for like 1 round, and then I think Genevieve's going to go with the gamers. But we don't have any evidence of that, right? Because Genevieve and Rizzo were really close. And then who does Rizzo go with? Rizzo's attached to Cerise. Cerise attached to Ozzy, and they're kind of all attached somewhat to Christian. So that's what my thought is. So I don't know. I
think we see some sort of outcome between Aubrey and Genevieve. Like, they put a lot of effort into explaining this storyline prior to the merge. They again showed us the backstory of what happened between them. They're constantly keeping it front of mind. Yeah, this could be the showdown at the merge. So I think Aubrey, Genevieve, good shout, and then someone random that we just didn't expect, like a Tiff or like a D or something like that.
Could it be the gamers factory going behind either Aubrey or Genevieve, and then they need to bring over the loyalty integrity crew to be sort of like that block? Maybe that's what it could be. Because there's so many. I think it's probably going to be the biggest tribal council in history, right? I can't think of one that's been bigger than this. So it's going to be absolutely insane. Or it could be like what you said, where it's probably just going to be split down the middle and
2
it's
groups.
just going to be 2 fact. Yeah.
And that makes it hard to predict who's going to go home because we don't even know who's going to be in those groups. Willie's saying, I think TNT community got this. We just need Emily to stay to give us more points. I would love that final three. Christian is still in trouble. I could see Ozzy idling him out. People hated the coach hugs and avoided him like the plague during South Pacific, but it's a different era, but it's old school players. I'll go with Tiffany, given her tiny edit. I think the merge boot is D or Stephanie or Tiffany, but I could also highly see it being Christian. This is just the thing, is so many people left. Remember Marty going at the merge at Nicaragua, so losing a narrator at the merge isn't unheard of. Christian has just pissed so many people off, and Ozzy and Suri have the advantages to do whatever they want if they come together and bring a few people in with them. It could definitely also be Genevieve at the merge. Hey, it is terrible. It's all over the place. There's so many people left in the game. But this has been, talking about potentially a record tribal council going into the merge. This has been our new record for the longest podcast we've done together, Andre. An hour and 20 minutes in. Yeah. There was a lot to talk about. It was a lot of fun.
I feel like if two people are going next week, I think we'll be talking for a similar amount of time because there's so much to talk about. And the way they've crafted this season has been excellent. We saw a really great payoff with the Rizzo and the Rizzo storyline. We got a nice bow around Ozzy. It was fantastic. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to next week.
Absolutely love talking about Survivor with you. I'm so glad that we spoke about Survivor 50 and doing this podcast prior to the season, and that, we resurrected the Nullify Take podcast because I've been having a lot of fun talking to you about it every single week. I've got no one else to talk. Like, at least you can talk to your partner about Survivor. Like, mine doesn't want to watch Survivor. It's like, no, I can't watch that show. So, like,
tell her Rizzo's doing really well.
I have been telling her, like, hey, Rizzo's like doing it. So for those who don't know, my girlfriend's Albanian, Italian. So the Albanian side, I was like, the Albanian guy is doing extremely well. He's still in the game. He's doing it for Albania. But it's been
mine is a real Christian stand, so we're aligned there.
Exactly. Well, it's been a lot of fun. Everybody that gets to this point of the podcast that listen to all of this, if you want to support us, hit subscribe, put a like, put comments below. I do read them even after the live. Thank you so much. But for now, grab your torches and head back to camp. I will see you guys next week. And thanks to everybody in the live for jumping in and taking part of the conversation. I really enjoyed bringing up the comments. For me, a lot about the Nullify Takers. What does the community say? What are they thinking? And that's why we've got the community in our draft this year, competing against myself and Andre as well. Well, talk to you guys next time. Bye.